Hello and welcome to the Zonal Weakness brought to you by Corner Football Fantasy, powered by Fantasy Football Scout. And look who's back. It's Bethany. How are you, Bethany?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, it feels like ages because we had the double and stuff. It feels like ages. I am okay. Bit depressed with FPL. Feel like I've gone nowhere. I was around 600k a few weeks ago. I played my assistant manager chip onslaught. Got a 30k green arrow in the first double game week, and then a 30k red arrow last week. So I've just gone nowhere, just back to where I started. Basically, I think I've gained about 5 to 10k over the 2 game weeks, and that's it. So a bit disappointing when you've played a chip, but I didn't have Trent. I had Konaté instead, so that was a big thing. And then didn't have anybody like Mateta. So yeah, quite a few blanks and disappointments. So yeah, wasn't. Oh, and Rogers. Rogers did absolutely nothing. Rather than Watkins. So yeah, it's just frustrating because Rogers seems to do amazing things when it's not in Premier League, and even I was listening to the game last night, and it was like Rogers is in this, Rogers is doing this, Rogers is all I heard was his name, and yet he got no points again for the fourth, fifth week running. So yeah, he's leaving my team ASAP. But yeah, a bit disappointing. Feel like I'm going nowhere. How about you?
Well, I would say in your case, it was one step forward and one step backward. That's it. I mean, it's okay. And then if you take all the other factors in, yeah, it looks like, chaos, but actually it's not. It's just you're standing exactly where you are while other things are kind of spinning around you. Well, for me, I mean, I don't know. I played instead of playing my triple captainship, I had to change my decision. I was going with triple captainship
Yes,
as
sir.
we talked about, but then I decided against it because at that very moment the double game week was announced, and so I thought like, okay, why not use the assistant managership? I think this is the best opportunity because you'll get 5 games, at least 4 games definitely
Yeah.
instead of 3. So I switched on slot, and which is fine, and it went well. And then yeah, the triple captain Salah kind of did the damage a bit. I would say not so much, but then it was a red arrow by about just 1 point, so I missed. I didn't get safety score of 1 point, I think, so that's why I was kind of back to what you call it, 900,000, very close to 1 million. But then yeah, and then this week went well.
That's good.
This week went well because, and I think I have to say that Trent Alexander-Arnold was the reason as to why this week went well. I got that clean sheet, I got the goal, so that kind of put me back. And again, couldn't play my triple captain because I already have my AM active. So, yeah, overall, I wouldn't complain much. And then, yeah, I'm somewhere around 50,000, 50,000 rank gain. So that's it. Yeah. So I'm kind of in somewhere around 950,000, I think, somewhere. That's it. Yeah. But I'm not going to complain about it because I think the other issues are more or less similar to yours, Rogers, then Ahmad, and then, you have Clivert, who did nothing. But thank God I heard Wood. I didn't sell him. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I got the hat trick.
one of
Yeah.
the few positives of this game week. I think my biggest problem is that I'm used to the last few years. Those of us who are planners and engaged managers, I think normally a chip week and a double game week normally is the weeks where we see huge increases. And even last week, I didn't see a huge increase, and then I actually got a red arrow this week. So I feel like it's
Mm.
normally you're expecting to kind of I was hoping to kind of go from 600k to maybe 450k in the last 2 game weeks, and I've just stayed static. So then it's a bit worrying about the rest of the season where you're going to make those games that you usually would have made this week. But that's what it is.
But I think that's a very interesting point that you make. It's not about just being casual, and it's not about just being very engaged. I think it's come down to the fact of being very particular about which you're really using. Because often there are people are very much aware of the double game mix and the blank game mix, and they have their plans, and everybody has their own plans, which is fine. But it's the application of chips, the appropriate chip at the right moment, and I think that makes a lot of difference. So in your case and my case, it was more the AM chip. Just imagine had we not got caught by that, the frenzy of double game
Yeah,
week
I think that double game
being
week
announced.
differently. Like, I think the whole point is that we like to plan, and I had a really nice plan. You were going to use triple captain, I wasn't, which probably would have hurt me because Salah has done really well. But at least if I hadn't used triple captain first week, I could have then used it this week, and I would have used it on this week. I like this week's fixtures much better than last week. If I hadn't used assistant manager because of the double, I would have used it this week when that was announced. But also, I just think that planners aren't being helped at the moment because when we don't know enough, so we're trying to plan, and then everything is just changing all the time. Like, we were thinking that there was going to be double game weeks in 36, and now it looks like there's no double game weeks in 36, and then the extra double game weeks being announced in like 32 instead of 34, and like in 33. Like, there's just so much that is still up in the air that actually planning you can't really do at the moment, or the planning you did do has kind of been ruined.
You need to be flexible. I think that's the thing, and then take the very appropriate decision at the very last moment, and that decision has to be very correct. Like, those who went with triple captain game week 24, brilliant. Those who went with triple captain 25, brilliant. Those who played assistant manager on 24 and 25, I wouldn't call them brilliant because it hasn't really done wonders for us. I mean, look at me. I've got 50,000 rank. You went 30,000 up and then 30,000 back. That's it. Anyway, let's look at more the positives, which is the zonal weakness. So we'll look into that, and we'll see what game week 26 brings. And before we get started, this is the zonal game weakness for game week 26 and 27, because game week 27 starts in midweek, and by the time we'll have our next recording, it will already be game week 28. So that's why we're kind of combining 2 weeks here together. So let's move on and let's see what we have. And of course, if you have not followed or liked or subscribed to our channels, please do so. We are producing regular content, and I think we are producing some good quality content. So if you are not following us, please do so. That would be very much appreciated. And all the data that you see are, of course, taken from the Fantasy Football membership area. Interested in the membership, then click in the link in the description below, and you'd still get the discount that's available there. Fantasy Football Scout. Right. So over to you, Bethany, with the zonal transfer review, because back in game week 22, and I think you did the game week 22 one, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So you kind of recommended these players. I'm sorry, so to put you on the spot here, but you have done fairly well, I would say, looking at it. But I'll since you did the analysis back then and suggested, I would leave it to you to also do the review. Over to you, Bethany.
Yeah, so most of the choices have done really well. I've owned 2 of these players. Wood, in particular, has been great. He's just been so consistent across games. If you look, got 12 against Southampton, 17, and then 9. So kind of holes most weeks. The only game he didn't was Bournemouth, which, the way Bournemouth are playing this season, wasn't particularly a surprise. That was going to be a tricky game. So I think anybody that brought in Wood around then would be really pleased with 10 points per match. I know I have been. I wish I'd also brought in Mateta. I went for Visser at that point, and he's not really done much for me at all. Those who've got Wood and Mateta of these last 4 have been, flying up the ranks. So again, 8.75 points per match. He's done really well too. Gakpo, obviously, I think a lot of people brought him in because obviously of the doubles as well. And he's been a bit disappointing, obviously, once he's gone off and got injured. So got a really nice score against Ipswich, but then has blanked in the last double game week, and didn't do anything spectacular in double game week 24 either. So he's been okay across the 4. I guess at least people got people off the bench for game week 25. So some people maybe have got a Wood off the bench that they'd benched for that as a single game week player. So 6.25 points per match, you can't really be too disappointed with, but it's not as nice as people were hoping, I think, with extra games in there compared to other players. And then Jota, obviously, similarly, injured and out, and then reduced minutes. So disappointing there. But otherwise, Mateta and Wood, definitely, people have been really pleased with.
Right. Yeah, I think overall, I think beside Gakpo's last minute injury, I think he's done well, and I think there can be no complaint about Wood and Mateta. To be honest, I think they've been too brilliant. But anyway, let's look at Game Week 26, and first we are going to discuss about Game Week 26, and yeah, then we'll focus on Game Week 27, and of course the team of the week. Yeah, right. Over to you. There's a little bit of white here and there, patch of snow here and there amidst their forest. So yeah, over to you, Bethany.
Yeah, so up
Take us
first
through.
is Brentford. And to be honest, I've been really disappointed with them recently. I've owned Mbromo and Visser and not really got many points from either of them recently. So it's nice to see that Mbromo should have a good week again this week. But yeah, they're definitely ones to keep an eye on because then they haven't been producing the points. But they have been getting chances, I think. From what I've seen, it's not that they've just not been getting the end result. So yeah, hopefully Mbromo can get us something this week. Then we've got Spurs, and Spurs for me is still an avoid. I think there's just so much going on there, players missing, etc. I like Maddison. I just wish he was playing probably in a different team and getting consistent minutes. So yeah, Spurs at the moment are an avoid, even though the fixture is nice against Ipswich. Then we've got Brighton up against Southampton. Brighton, another odd team that's really difficult to call at the moment. João Pedro and Welbeck up front are the ones that are standing out, with the centre for chances conceded ranked first there. I think it is worth noting that I'm not sure whether João Pedro still has his place as a starter. He's not been starting or hasn't had the minutes recently. But I do like Welbeck, actually. Welbeck did me really well at the beginning of the season, so he might be a really nice differential if you wanted to go there. Then we've got Arsenal up next, and obviously the ones standing out here are Trossard and Rice, who aren't massive fantasy assets. We're not generally those the ones we're going for. But interestingly, I know some people are wondering about getting like a fifth midfielder slot in ready, like a cheap fifth midfielder, so they can afford to go back to Haaland, etc. So Marino and Nwaneri have both done really nicely recently, and actually their chances conceded are bad this week. Centre for Marino ranked 8th and Nwaneri ranked 6th. So I do still like both of those options, even though they're slightly outside of that white zone that we'd normally look for. They played really nicely last game week. Next up, interestingly, is Bournemouth, and there's nobody standing out there at all in the white, which is surprising, I think, for most people. I think everybody would have thought that it would have been highlighted against Wolves. But it is interesting to note, again, that Kluivert and Ouattara, Dango, those are the ones that are the closest with chances down centre conceded, ranked 6th. So I still think you can play Bournemouth players that you've got. We know that they're been in brilliant form and are scoring multiple goals against pretty much anyone. But those two are the ones that I would go for this week, considering nobody else is standing out from the zonal weakness. Nobody for Liverpool this week. So maybe time to move off, especially your third assets, because they will blank at some point in 29. So if you unless you're using a free hit or anything, time to move off some Liverpool assets potentially, especially those that are fixture proof, that are rotation, on rotation. So Gakpo with his injury, Diaz, maybe even Trent's, Canate's, etc. Keep Salah, obviously, but otherwise maybe time to move on to the others. Interesting. These last two are really interesting, actually. Because Forest and Newcastle have both been doing really well recently. And I've currently got both Aina and Hall on my bench because I thought that the other team would score. But if you look at the zonal weakness, actually both of them could get attacking returns this week against each other. Stand in left flank for Aina, right flank for Hall, both standing out really nicely. So yeah, maybe don't bench them. I might be rejigging my bench, I think, after seeing this. But otherwise, yeah, all of the attacking assets, I think, could do well here. Isaac, Wood, Gordon, if you still got them, Alanga, etc. Yeah, happy to play all of them. Looks a nice fixture. Could be a high-scoring one, I think. They're both fighting for positions high up in the table, so could be quite an open game.
Right. Interesting, to be honest, now that Zonal has made you contemplate Bethany. Let's see if there is some more that could further create more doubts or maybe just clear your mind a little bit. Over to you with the next one.
Yep, so nobody's standing out for Aston Villa. I can't wait to get rid of Rodgers out of my team, so he's going this week for somebody. Obviously, Watkins has done really nicely and is ticking over. He's not got that threat anymore of his position as much. Rashford's coming and look nice, but I wouldn't be buying any of the Aston Villa players this week. Obviously, if you look at the zonal, no one's standing out. I'd probably hold Watkins for now. Potentially, though, I'll play him anyway. Chelsea, again, you can never call a game with Chelsea. So Watkins, I'd be happy to hold, but Rodgers, I'm moving on. I think he's just been a bit disappointing now. Same with Chelsea. Not really sure what's going on with Chelsea at the moment. They were doing so well and they've just kind of stopped. Cole Palmer, I feel for him, bless him, because I think he's been about 30, 40 chances created over the last few weeks, more than anybody else in I think maybe even Europe. But he's not got any returns for them, no assists on any of them because none of his teammates can score any goals. So Palmer is okay to keep. But I think a lot of people are looking at even moving him on. And I don't hate that. But just worth noting when we come to game week 27 in a minute, that they do have two nice fixtures coming up after the Villa one. I think they've got Southampton and Leicester, or two of the three promoted teams anyway in the next 2 weeks. So I would keep Palmer despite this one. He is being benched for me this week. Which I don't hate at all if others are in a similar position. Like his zonal doesn't suggest he's going to get anything, and from what we've seen recently, Chelsea aren't looking good, but I wouldn't sell him yet. Hold on to him, keep him for the nice two fixtures in 2 weeks' time, and then you could sell him to get your Haalands, etc. Next up, it's Wolves. Had a complete blank there, couldn't think who it was. And player definitely standing out there is Kuna. Obviously, we all had him earlier on in the season. He's got the goal this week against Liverpool. Interestingly, I wouldn't have said Bournemouth gave away as many chances as they have. So that's another one that's stood out for me from this. Kuna looking like a nice option. So potentially the time to move players if you're looking for, like, for example, a Gakpo replacement. Someone like Kuna could be brilliant. He's got a really nice run of fixtures. It's not just this week's zonal weakness. Next few weeks are all standing out. Plays in game week 29 if you need him to, and got a nice fixture in 29. So Kuna is a definite buy for me this week if you're looking for a forward. Then it's Man City, and nobody's standing out yet, so don't bother going there yet. They're still not looking great. They obviously lost midweek. Whoever's playing them, I think could have chances, but I wouldn't be investing in City at the moment. They're still not looking great. Haaland or Mamouche for the blank later on, maybe, but not this week. Fulham up next. If you've kept hold of a Robinson, could be nice. Somebody like that. Palace. Finally, for once, I, as a non-Mateta owner, might get a breather maybe this week, as the chances don't look too good for him. Maybe one. If you were thinking about bringing him in, maybe wait a week. Similarly, nobody standing out for Crystal Palace this week, so not a week to buy. Then we've got Everton, who have just completely turned a corner. They seem to have learned how to attack recently, which is really nice. And surprisingly, it's Beto who's standing out. Again, I don't dislike him. Man United really don't look great right now, and they've gone backwards again, unfortunately. Back to the Man United we had at the start of the season. Obviously, Ahmad has been ruled out for pretty much the rest of the season, or at least a while. I think somebody like Beto could really take advantage of that. If you've already got him, definitely play him. And if you need money somewhere, feel free to bring him in. They play in the blank as well, so that's good to know. And then finally, we've got Leicester. Vardy standing out, and I think that's the only player I'd ever bring in from Leicester is Vardy, but I wouldn't go there despite the zonal weakness. I think there's better options like a Beto.
Right. Okay. Then let's move on to the zonal weakness for Gameweek 26. And then, audience, don't think this is the end. I know the pod looks a little bit extended, but it is what it is. It's because we have two game weeks being covered at the same time. So, yeah, excuses for a bit longer show. But yeah, over to you for the zonal Gameweek 26.
Yep, like I've said, I really like Kuna. I think he'd be one of my targets for this week. If you've kept Gordon playing, I'm now going to play Hall, I think. So I like those. And Bremo is a keep for me, but not probably a buy. And yeah, I don't mind Welbeck. And similarly with Trossard, I'd probably, despite the zonal suggesting Trossard is the best for this week, I think if you're looking for somebody more long term, I'd go for one of the other Arsenal mids that we'd talked about, like Nwaneri, that kind of thing. But otherwise, yep.
Okay, now that we have really kind of gone a little bit, I mean, we had a long discussion in the beginning and then we kind of touched upon all the teams. Let's do one thing. Let's quickly try and cover the Gameweek 27, whereby we'll try and focus only on the white. And there's quite a lot of white, by the way. So, but and that's because I just wanted to make your life simple. Otherwise, this will be a more of a 45-minute show, in case the audience are wondering. But yeah, over to you. I don't want to waste any more time.
I'll try and be quick. So Palmer, like I said, the fixtures were turning for them. So keep Palmer for the next few weeks while they've got better fixtures. But otherwise, I wouldn't be going near any other Chelsea. Interesting, obviously not necessarily Newcastle you wouldn't think is particularly an easy game, but it's standing out there for your Salahs and Trents, Van Dijk. So yep, and more interesting than I would have thought. Man United, we are avoiding, definite avoid, despite the fixture, I'm afraid. Just don't trust them, especially with Ahmad. Yeah, I still really like Nwaneri. Marino, again, is just outside. Those would be my choices. And I don't mind Gabriel. And again, a bit of a surprise there that Forest are the most likely to concede a headed chance. So that's interesting to note. Then we've got Villa, who seem to have turned a corner. I think Rashford is good for them. I think he's looking good. So I don't mind a punt on someone like Rashford. I'm avoiding Rodgers, but like I said, I would have kept Watkins last week, and yeah, play him here. Looks good. Everton looking good all over, and yeah, Brentford don't look great really at the moment. So you could go for defenders like your Tarkowski and hope he gets, or Mikalenko and hope they get an attacking return too. But yeah, I don't mind Abeto. It looks great again, so he would be a nice choice if you were planning on bringing him in last week. And then a few Man City assets starting to appear. Haaland, Savinho, Nunez. I think Haaland would be the one I'd be going for, or Marmoush, despite the zonal, just because he looked so good last week. I think those would be your two options there. And then finally, yeah, maybe a Welbeck for Brighton.
Yeah, so let's move to the next slide. Yeah, there you go. There is only a couple of whites there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6. Over to you, Bethany.
Yep. So focusing on them, we've got Eze and Mitchell from Palace. I think I'm right in saying we're not entirely sure on Eze's fitness right now, so just keep an eye on that. Bowen, I do like. I think West Ham have turned a corner in the last few weeks. They've got this nice fixture, so I think Bowen could be a nice offer to go somewhere if you want a differential. If you're trying to chase rank, Bowen could be nice. It's Sharda that's appearing quite a lot in all of these, both last week's in Gameweek 26 and in Gameweek 27 again now. So if you haven't got a Brentford mid, maybe it's Sharda you want to take a punt on rather than going in Bremo. But otherwise, not looking great for the rest of the Brentford assets. And then finally, yeah, we've got who have we got? We've got Ipswich. It's like, who are you? Ipswich and Leicester. Mind blank tonight. Ipswich and Leicester. Obviously, it's Delap for Ipswich that's kind of standing out as your attack. A nice cheap attack if you don't want to go Beto. could do well again in that kind of fighting zone till the end of the season of trying to fight against relegation. So Delap could get some nice points, and he is cheap as an enabler. But I'd be avoiding Leicester. I think those Reed and Mavididi don't stand out enough for me in general for me to go there. Just one last point for one of the groups that haven't been standing out is just, again, Brighton I thought would be quite a nice game for Bournemouth, but and I was looking to go double attack, but actually the last two, both 26 and 27, haven't looked amazing for Bournemouth mids, so maybe I don't go there yet, and I leave it and target a forward move instead, someone like Kuna.
Okay, so I think we are more or less done, and I think the last section is left, and we are still on time. We're not doing too bad, to be honest. But anyway, over to the team of the week, and then we're done.
Yep. Again, like I said, I really like Bowen. I think Bowen could be a nice differential, but quite a safe differential. Like we've been there, we've seen him consistently before. The team's looking much better. I like Bowen. Salah's a no-brainer. I think Palmer for these two, then game 27-28. Again, you don't want to fight against. He could his EO basically. He could easily get holes in these games. I really like Beto, who he's looked nice for both of the last 2 weeks. I'm less fussed about Bruno and Rodgers. I just don't think they have been consistent, and Man United in their team as well haven't been consistent. So I'd probably avoid there. Trent, I think if you've already got, probably you now keep after saying that maybe you start selling some of the Liverpool assets because they do blank. Probably keep Trent a bit longer while you can sell your kind of Gakpos and Diaz's, I think.
Right. I think we are more or less done then. Now this is really done. We're really done. Sorry. We're done. It's been a long one. Audience, thank you so much. And yeah, thank you so much for bearing with us. But this is...
Oh, just saying thank you for sticking around if you're still here, because it's definitely a long one.
Yeah, a bit longer, but it's 2 weeks combined plus our frustration of, with all the chips and not getting ranks enough. But yeah, thank you so much, and hope you enjoyed it. And good to see Bethany, you back again on the show. And it felt like ages, but again, we'll see you very soon. But until then, audience, thank you so much for sticking around and listening to the Zonal Weakness. If you do have any observations, feedback, please do feel free to share with us. But we will see you next week for Game Week 28 Zonal Weakness. Until then, good luck, and may your arrows be green. Bye-bye.